Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 3 of our Apex School of Drift. Today we're going to be covering transitions and how to approach transitions correctly, the fundamentals of transitions in itself, and actually how to do a transition when drifting, and then we're going to cover a little bit on how to position your car using a transition, so more the timing of a transition and how your timing can affect your line of where you're going on the track. Okay, so nice and simple. We are still using the Sylvia S14 from our last video. If you want to see the full build, it's in episode 2. First 4 minutes or so, we'll give you the full build on this car. And just as usual, I just want to quick say thanks for all of the support on the videos, because these have kind of done a lot more numbers than we expected. Kind of says there's a bit more of a need than what we thought. Hopefully, you know, they continue to do well. And if you're new here, subscribe, because we're going to be posting one of these every Thursday, and we're going to cover every part of drifting, including tuning for drifting and everything else. This episode's focused on transitions in general. We're going to cover a lot more in a minute, but next week we'll be covering learning your first section. So last week was absolute raw fundamentals about drifting. This week is fundamentals on transitions, and then next week is fundamentals on learning a new section. The week after we'll cover driver etiquette in lobbies. Alright, so that's your next 2 weeks worth of videos. At least you know they're coming out next Thursday at 11 o'clock Eastern, or 11 o'clock UK time, 6 o'clock Eastern, and again the week after, etc, etc, and so on and so forth. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into the video. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are back at the streets of Willow. Here we're going to be taking 2 corners, or 1 corner, well, it's a double corner, so you'll get the drift very quickly, but we're going to just concentrate on doing the transition between 1 corner to another, and then we're going to show you the variations of how line can change in general. So we're going to do a bit of initiation work here, and you'll see in some replays as well that I'm going to overlay as well. What we're going to do, I'm going to just use second gear. Get the car initiated with the clutch, and we're just going to concentrate on this transition right here. Just holding tight to the inside to start with, and then we're just going to turn around. We're going to use these 2 corners for our. So give it a clutch kick, get it turned over, lift off a little bit for transition. Same thing, lift off for the transition, maybe give it a clutch kick just to keep it lit. And now I'm going to focus on the actual movements here, and this will switch to a cinematic camera so you can actually see. But what we're actually doing is we are drifting with the steering left when we're going right? So say if our car is facing this direction, the steering, you know, we're traveling forward or to the left, and then when we're transitioning, we're on throttle, and then we're lifting off the throttle and flicking over to the other direction, and what will end up happening is that car will, I know I'm doing this backwards, but you'll end up, like, it makes sense. You transition the car over to the other direction, so we'll do this very slowly. So, lift off to let it come back. So just lift off, and you see how it comes over? But now you're steering the other way, right? So another thing you can just do is, if you mess up, just aim for the cones. Nice and simple, nice and easy. The thing with drifting is it's very situational a lot of the time. Like here, give that little clutch kick, and then let it flick over. Yeah, I'm starting to run out of power now. Let off, get back on power. And you're letting off while holding the steering in the same place. That way, what happens with the car is, when you lift off the accelerator and you keep the steering where it is, all of that drive's going to go to the front wheels and you're going to force a load of snap into the car. Like we discussed last week in the fundamentals about, obviously, if you don't have enough power and you've got too much steering, well, this is a way of using that too much steering on purpose. So lift off, let it rotate, then get back on the power. Now, this does take a little bit of learning. It is not the easiest to do when you're first starting out. The transition part is always the hardest. So again, lift off, let it flow over, make sure you've applied plenty of throttle, lift off, let it transition over. Sometimes you can actually, and I'll show you this as well, you can actually keep the throttle on, but instead of actually dropping off the throttle, you can actually just turn more, and what happens when you turn more, it will give you a really aggressive transition. So I'm going to turn more, and you can see it can be very aggressive, even on a fast wheel. Now, what I'm going to show you now is how to align and time your transition to go wider or earlier. Now, I'm going to start on the wide line. So you're going to send it out a little bit wider. You can use a little bit of the foot brake, and you're going to transition really late. So then that way you stay further to the outside. And if you transition really early, what'll end up happening is you end up coming to the inside. But with practice, you can initiate straight into the outside. And a little bit of foot brake sometimes can really help with repositioning the car out wide as well. A little bit of clutch kick can help pull it inwards, as you can see here. So you can use the tools that you have. Also, you can use the handbrake, which is always an option. I don't generally use the handbrake, so I won't be doing too much of that. But you want to transition later and use a little bit of the foot brake just to hang the outside. And then again, later, and look, much wider than what we did a minute ago where I transitioned really early, and I'll show you what early only transitions then look like. So we'll start on the outside line again. So we're on the outside. Oh, I've transitioned early, now I'm really inside. Okay, now I'm transitioning late, so now I'm on the outside. Where if you transition early in the same place, you'll go to the inside. Now, we'll talk more on learning lines and actually how to approach learning a line in the next video. But this is just the fundamentals on how to approach actually just transitions on its own. And realistically, if you're on a DD or a T300 or just, if you're not on a G29, maybe a T300 even as well. T150s are a bit too low to spin fast enough on their own. But with a direct drive, you can just kind of let the wheel rotate on its own, which is very nice and very handy. With the G29 and with the T300, you may need to help it a little bit, just because they are not the fastest at rotating over. And Gran Turismo does not have a lot of steering lock in the first place. The main focus of this is just to show you how to transition. Just show you that, like, at the end of the day, struggling is normal. You will struggle. It's an absolute struggle bus. So never ever take that for granted. But again, we're going to aim to go late here, right? So I'm going to try and transition as late as possible. Maybe use a little bit of that left foot brake, just to try and get it into the zone. And then here, we're going to go wide again. So I transition in slightly later than I would normally to stay mid-track. And then here, I want to go inside. So I'm going to transition really early and stick to the inside. You see how transitioning and thinking about where you're going next as well, and this is probably one of the biggest things, is don't think, oh, I've got to transition. Think, I've got this corner coming up. When should I transition? Do I need to go wide? Do I need to go inside? Should I stay mid-track? Am I still learning? Or am I comfortable? If you're comfortable, cool. You know, this video is not for you. If you're learning, think a corner ahead at all times. We're also going to go to one other track, which is another track that I like to use, which can teach you your transitions a little bit better and a little bit quicker. It's very basic, and I mean basic. But we're going to the Suzuka Circuit full course. Now, East course is for another video. We're going to concentrate on the full course specifically. And we're actually going to be going to the back part of the track, up to the skid pad. So we're going to get on, make our way. You can hear this thing crackling, poppling, 290 horsepower. How funny. And you'll see there is this little side entrance road here. We're going to take our way in here. And then you'll see that you've got these lovely squares here on the floor. You see this square that I'm driving over here? So we're going to be using this square combined with this sort of like kind of ruined square. And like we said in the last video about transitions, basically what we're going to do is create a figure of 8 within these 2 boxes. Super simple, nothing difficult. This will get your transitions to a basic of like the basic side of learning your transitions down to a T. Right? And all you're going to do is just drive a couple of, like this is what I always do, drive a couple of dummy laps. Just in second gear, fill it out, get some heat into the tyres, and then just start to slip the car gradually. And then remember, like we said, and I do this in second gear to learn, you want to keep nice consistent throttle, and you want to steer the car around. So hold the corner, lift off a little bit, let it transition, stand on the throttle on the exit of the transition. So going for the transition, off the throttle, back on the throttle for the exit of the transition. That way you go in to drift the opposite way. Just make sure that you're managing your steering nice and smoothly. There's no need to oversteer here, there's no need to over throttle. Just nice and consistent. And this looks easy. And once you can do sort of 20, 30, you know, in a row, you can pretty much, you know, you're pretty much good, right? And then what you should do is then every now and then just do 2 quick transitions and now go the other way. So we were doing figure eights one way, now we're doing figure eights the other way. And this will help you with just getting used to your wheel in general, you know, being familiar with the force feedback and what the car is doing. And that's always the aim of drifting in itself. Like, believe it or not, familiarity, maybe that might be a word. But how familiar you are with a car will make it significantly more drivable over something that you are not used to driving. Now, I would recommend all of the first 3 steps of this fundamentals sort of coverage in general should be done in this S14, just because it's a basic car to teach you the fundamentals. If you can learn to do everything in this car that we're going to show you how to do, then you can drift 400 horsepower no problem. Just takes a bit more delicate footwork. Or if you're on a grippier tyre, then it takes more smoothness in your inputs in general, which is a lot more challenging to do when you're in a higher grippy setup. So there is that too. But this is a very simple, easy car to drift. And I know I'm saying that with 5,000, 6,000 hours, but it's also, in the principle of things, this is an easy car to slide. It's not grippy, it slides well. You put this on the rein too, it becomes even easier. You can do this in first gear. Like as first, second, you could probably slide it in fifth. But you wouldn't want to do that because that would really be ideal. A little bit of brake, and just you know, just to keep the car from going outside of the boxes, because you want to stay inside the boxes as much as possible. But this is all in your footwork more than anything. Once you've got this down to an art form and it's extremely easy for you, here's another option for you. Start throwing outside the boxes. So go for an outside box here, and then go to an inside box here. See, you go from outside to inside. It's another technique. And then sometimes maybe, oh, you want to change directions? Quick slalom into the outside here. And you can use the corners of the boxes as reference points. And lesson boxes, like lesson corners. You know, you want to be able to hit them all, right? Like Pokemon. Got to catch them all, right? And just try and stay within the box. You can go a little out wide. If you concentrate on all of the fundamentals, this will become easy over time. Like a week or two, 2 weeks of good consistent effort, and this will become easy to. But it does take time. It's not a it's not simple. Drifting is never simple. It's a consistent balance between having too much grip and not having enough. Or, more importantly, you know, having enough throttle but to keep the car sideways, but not too much steering that you put it in a wall. See what I'm saying? It's just time. Time and effort is always your best policy. If you have any questions or anything that particularly you want us to cover, please make sure you put it in the comments. And if you're new here, please subscribe. I just want people to be drifting on GT. That's my thing. Like, if we can get people drifting on GT, I think it's a pretty good thing. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be it from us at the ADA, or me, 26B. I'm going to be back in the future, so next week with episode 3, and we are going to be learning a track for the first time. And how to approach learning a track for the first time. Okay? Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be it from me. We'll see you next week at 11 PM UK time or 6 PM Eastern Standard here on YouTube. Hasta la vista. Bye-bye.